Last episode we saw how the most chaotic designs actually require the most control. Visual anarchy built on years of discipline. But sometimes the chaos isn't calculated at all. Sometimes the world delivers it ready-made, and album covers become the place where artists process what everyone else is feeling too. In this final episode of the album cover art mini-series, Green Day's hard grenade against the Iraq War, Gorillaz building an entire island from ocean trash, Kendrick Lamar staging American Power on the White House lawn, and for a spotlight, James Blake's AI-generated meeting between real and robot dogs, a freeze frame from our possible algorithmic future. Welcome to the covers where the political becomes personal. First up, Green Day. These guys burst out of Berkeley in the early 90s. Billy Joe Armstrong, Mike Dirnt and Trey Cool. They become one of punk's most successful mainstream acts. Dookie hits in 1994 and it's absolutely massive. They are dominating the entire decade, but by the early 2000s they've gone quiet. Then 2004 happens and they come back swinging with the most politically charged album of their careers, American Idiot. The cover becomes instantly iconic, one of the most symbolically loaded images of the entire 2000s. Chris Bilheimer designs it. He creates bold propaganda-style imagery, a stenciled hand gripping a heart-shaped grenade. Bilheimer is pulling from Soviet and Chinese propaganda posters and from Soul Bass bold graphics. And this print encapsulates everything the album is screaming about. This is a punk rock protest against the post-9/11 political climate, the Iraq War that started in 2003, and the media environment under President George Bush. Think about what's happening then. The Patriot Act is expanding surveillance powers, weapons of mass destruction dominate every headline, cable news networks are amplifying political divisions 24/7, and Green Day turns all that rage into one striking visual, the hard grenade. It's the collision of love and war. Or as the album says, rage in love. The band's basically saying America's heart has been weaponized. Look closer. Blood is dripping from the red heart, which means violence and passion bleeding together. Bilheimer reveals the image comes directly from a lyric in She's a Rebel, about holding someone's heart like a hand grenade. The title track talks about this new kind of tension. And the whole album is about rebellion. About reclaiming American identity from what they see as complete idiocy. Gorillaz has always been something else entirely. Damon Albarn and artist Jamie Hewlett create this virtual band in 1998. The band exists as animated characters. They are using cartoons to address political issues, technology and human identity. But the third studio album, Plastic Beach, this takes the whole concept to new heights. The album cover shows the Plastic Beach, and here's what it is. A secret floating island in the South Pacific made entirely from trash piling up in the ocean. According to the band's mythology, this artificial island is where they recorded the album. The cartoon band members are held captive there by their own bassist, Murdoch, who's become possessed. Albarn describes it as an island made of the detritus, the plastic and rubbish that's been thrown into the ocean. It's both a literal setting for the story and this massive metaphor for humanity's relationship with waste. So Jamie Hewlett creates the illustrations. Then they transform them into a 4-meter high physical model. They photographed this massive model in a 50,000-liter water tank, and they built a tank specifically for this shoot. Look at the visual details. The whole island is this visually unstable structure of piled-up trash with buildings sitting on top, surrounded by palm trees. There are even ships with docking areas and a lighthouse. And they create 4 different versions of the cover art: daytime, afternoon, dusk and nighttime. Now here's where Albarn's environmental message gets really interesting and controversial. He visits a landfill in Mali and he finds a thriving ecosystem. Snakes living in the warmth of decomposing plastic bags. Frogs, rodents, foxes and birds all making homes in the garbage. This leads him to this wild realization. He says, plastic. We see it as being against nature, but it's come out of nature. We didn't create plastic, nature created plastic. He's watching these creatures not just surviving but actually benefiting from human waste. This observation becomes central to the message of Plastic Beach. The band members living on the trash island symbolize mankind ignorantly enjoying a world of waste. We are adapting to pollution rather than fighting it. We are making ourselves comfortable in the garbage. I discovered Kendrick through a David Bowie interview. Turns out Bowie was listening to Kendrick Lamar while making his final album, Black Star. And you can actually hear it when you put Bowie's Black Star next to Lamar's You. The same nerve shows up in Untitled 2 from my favorite Lamar's album Untitled Unmastered. That one has this appropriately minimalistic cover, just perfect for the title. From there I dive deep into Kendrick's work. By 2015, Lamar's already established as one of hip-hop's most compelling voices. His major label debut, Good Kid, Mad City, tells the cinematic story of his youth in Compton. It receives critical acclaim everywhere. But to Pimp a Butterfly, released in 2015, this is something entirely different. It's a jazz-infused exploration of black identity, depression, and America's racial landscape. It wins 5 Grammy Awards. Everyone's calling it one of the decade's most important albums. And now the cover. Black and white photograph. A large group of black people gathered in front of the White House. The choice of America's most iconic political building as the backdrop is deeply intentional. It's the seat of power in a country whose history includes slavery and a long struggle over civil rights. But when this album drops, Barack Obama is president. So there is a duality. Hope and historical trauma existing simultaneously. It's all over both the image and the entire album. French photographer Denis Rouver shoots it. He's known for powerful portrait work. And the image deliberately evokes historical photographs of lynchings, but it completely inverts the power dynamic. Historical images from the Jim Crow era showed wide crowds celebrating violence against black bodies. And these were actually sold as postcards, as souvenirs. But the cover image is a black celebration over the symbolic defeat of systemic oppression. That defeat is represented by the fallen judge at their feet. Look at the X'd-out eyes on the judge. It references both cartoon imagery of death and Malcolm X. Finality and black resistance in one symbol. This image mirrors the themes running through the album: depression, survivor's guilt, fame and racial injustice. And ultimately self-love and cultural pride. It's one of the most iconic and discussed album covers of the 2010s, and it's still generating conversations about art, politics and race in America. James Blake is a British electronic music producer and singer-songwriter. He's known for his delicate and emotional vocals and this really unique sound that blends genres. He's been pushing electronic music in new directions for over a decade, starting with dubstep influences and then collaborating with Beyoncé and Kendrick Lamar. His music is always about isolation, love and how technology messes with human connection, sometimes asking, what are we becoming? And if you've seen his video for Thrown Round, you know he's not exactly optimistic about where we are headed. But let me tell you about my personal main music heartbreak of 2024. I'm listening to the radio not expecting anything. And like the end comes on. The track is heart-wrenching. I Shazam it, the cover pops up and I'm like, what am I looking at? So I go to YouTube to understand more. The single's cover is not traditional artwork. It's a freeze frame lifted straight from the AI-generated official video. John Ruffman directed it for Blake. And in this climactic shot, a real dog pats toward what looks like Boston Dynamics yellow spot robot, that $75,000 military-grade machine. And this moment lands exactly where the music drifts into its outro. The image becomes this hinge between two emotional states, between our familiar image of life and whatever comes after. Look at what's happening here. A living dog meets this machine whose gait mimics biology but feels completely uncanny. Spot Robot already symbolizes both Silicon Valley optimism and techno-dread in our culture. It's the future we're promised and the future we fear. Blake explains why he turned to AI visuals. He says, I don't know how else you could make a video that totally nails the feeling of not knowing what's real anymore. And that's the real center here. Not the robot, but that creeping uncertainty. So it's not just about AI, it's about disorientation. About watching the world speed up while you're still catching your breath. The meeting of those two dogs becomes the perfect metaphor. It's like an uncertain hello at the border between us and machines. So where does album art go from here? Artists have tried every digital trick imaginable. Björk turned Biophilia into the world's first up album in 2011. Each song got its own interactive experience, and MoMA even included it in their design collection. But the app didn't even use the album cover, it had its own icon. Childish Gambino released Because the Internet in 2013 with an animated GIF cover with his face glitching on loop. It seemed fresh at the time, but now Apple Music has animated covers all over the place. Massive Attack went further with their Phantom app in 2016. Instead of traditional album cover, the visual identity lived inside the app, reacting to your camera, your heartbeat and your location as it generated remixes in real time. So does the cover need to be animated? Does it need AR features? Does it need to live in your Vision Pro? I don't think so. It doesn't need to entertain, that's the music's job. The best covers we've seen, especially today, they are provocative, and they are visual extensions of the music. And when the music is good enough to catch your attention, the cover becomes an extra opportunity to communicate something beyond the sound itself. This was the music album cover art series. Thanks for watching. Something different is coming next. See you soon.